Live from the Ram Cave, I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, the May 31st, 2022 edition. Thank you so much for clicking on. I hope you had a good weekend and everything went well. It is great to be back in the saddle again. I was happy I got to post that little bit yesterday about Leo McLaughlin and how I got the information from a pretty good book. This book is out there now. It's called 1951 Rams, Los Angeles Rams, the first West Coast champion. You really ought to check this book out. I talked about it and shared it a little bit yesterday in terms of what we posted in terms of RamView. But please, I won't even talk about Tangent Dreams, my book today. You just need to check this book out, and it's a fantastic book, and you need to get it. It's available on Amazon and everything else. Hey, a lot of stuff to talk about today. We could talk about Aaron Donald again. I'm sorry, it's becoming a yawning festival. I wanted to touch base just briefly, real quick, on the safeties. I'll tell you a little bit about the book, and then tell you an interesting thing about this date and who it involves in Ram history. So, real quick on the Aaron Donald situation, I'm getting to the point where I don't care. Here's the issue. If he is content with retiring, then what does he have left in the tank, right? And, of course, a half tank on or a quarter tank of Aaron Donald is better than the rest of the league. I get it. I want him re-signed. I want him back. But if he's really serious about this retirement business, and I can't imagine the Rams lowballing him. I think probably it's about when he gets his dough and how it's spread out and how many years and all that kind of stuff, how much they want to guarantee. It's all about salary cap structure. This regime of the Rams, this is not the Georgia Frontiere regime. This is the Stan Kroenke era. The Rams have demonstrated they'll do anything it takes to win. I doubt extremely they're lowballing him. But you know what, Rams fans? Whether it's this year or next year, you better get ready, because there's something in going on with Aaron Donald that if it's truly what he's saying, then you know what? Then you better get ready for life without him. And I don't know if I want to be tied to a guy that's kind of flirting with retirement and giving him too many rocks, because then he's going to hamstring the team going forward. And again, that sounds like heresy, because it sounds like we're talking bad about Aaron Donald. But I love Aaron Donald. I want Aaron Donald back. But Rams fans, you need to start thinking, because he's already 31 as well, you need to start thinking about life after Aaron Donald. And I know that's going to be a terrible thing to say, but that's the truth of the matter. Regarding safeties, I wanted to go over this, and I did it last week with the defensive line. I expect the Rams usually keep about 4 safeties on the active roster, and then probably 2 of them will go to the practice squad. So right now you got Jordan Fuller, Nick Scott, Taylor Rapp, Terrell Burgess, Quentin Lake, and Russ Yeast. I don't think Jordan Fuller is going anywhere unless he gets hurt. And I don't know, if you're a Ram fan, did you like what you saw in Nick Scott, or did you like what you saw in Taylor Rapp? I personally like what we saw in Nick Scott, and this is Nick Scott's walk year. This is his last year, as is Taylor Rapp's. And so there's 2 things I'm thinking about here, is that with Taylor Rapp and Terrell Burgess has never had the confidence of the coaching staff. He seems like a good guy and everything, but they didn't reach down to him when the safety room got all banged up last winter. They went out and brought in Eric Weddle and made other arrangements. So my guess is the safety room is going to look like Jordan Fuller and Nick Scott, with the possibility of either Rapp or Burgess getting traded. And you might get something now. There will probably be a market for Rapp. There's not much of a market for Burgess, but there could be an opportunity there where they deal them for a 7th round pick or a 6th round pick. I don't know if they're going to get the kind of playing time that's going to, bring you back a comp pick in the 4th round. But I can see, because they obviously invested in Quentin Lake and Russ Yeast, and they invested draft picks in these guys. And so I really would keep an eye on Taylor Rapp or Terrell Burgess. I could see one of them going, one of the rookies, likely Quentin Lake, coming to the active roster, and then a Russ Yeast going to the practice squad. I could see that. I could see that. And of course, if there's that could change things over camp. Like someone once said, and it's true, it's becoming more and more true, who's playing in the preseason? If you don't see Jordan Fuller and Nick Scott on the field, and you see Taylor Rapp and Terrell Burgess, that means those guys aren't starting. And such. And so keep an eye on that. I think Taylor Rapp or Terrell Burgess could be moved before the start of the season. I don't see them getting waived. They've invested in these guys. They've gotten some clicks out of Rapp. They've never really gotten the clicks out of Terrell Burgess, although everyone seems to like Terrell Burgess. All right. Wanted to get that out there. We talked about Aaron Donald. We talked about the safeties. This is the book right here, the 1951 Los Angeles Rams, Profiles of the NFL's first West Coast championship team, Pro Football Research. If you're familiar with the Rams community, Derek Spala is one of the editors of this book. And it's fantastic. It's an area that's kind of light. You know, as a Rams fan, I date 1972 as my beginning. I feel like I'm stone cold from 72 through 222. But when you get back into the 60s, I am familiar. You get into the 50s, which were prior to now glory days for the Rams franchise, especially from 49 through 55, several championship game appearances, and the title in 51, where they really revolutionized football. Two Hall of Fame quarterbacks that seem to get along. You really want to check this out. It's a great book. I got it on a Saturday, and it was messing with me because you guys know my other gig is I'm a pastor of a church, and I don't like to read anything and get too involved in things on a Saturday night before I got to preach. But this book was trouble, and I'm blowing through it, and it's an excellent book, and you really need to check it out. It's on Amazon and other places, I imagine, but check it out. You will not be disappointed if you're a Ram fan and you just love to geek out. It really is the book you want to look at. All right, so we got that across. Again, I want to keep it tight, keep it short. We're hitting the 7-minute mark. I am Joe Terosian. I do write books, and I was a sports writer for 20 years. And so you can follow me on joeterosian.com, my website, where I post my Ram stuff, see my books, post a few other things. You can hit like and subscribe right here to Joe T Sports, where we do RamView, hopefully every day during the week. And you follow me on Twitter at JoeT13B, and same handle at Instagram. All right, I think I got the commercials out of the way, but really check out the book, 1951 Los Angeles Rams. It is excellent and a lot of fun to dive into. All right. It was interesting because I do my research. I do my work, because there's days that you can't talk about a whole lot of stuff, and there's not a lot of new, fresh stuff. So you got to go dig in and do some work. And so one of the things I discovered was on this day in 2011, at the age of 85, legendary NFL Hall of Famer and former Ram Andy Robustelli died of complications from surgery. It's gallbladder surgery, it said. And Robustelli, you'd always heard that name, but you know, when I was growing up, I heard it more related to the Giants. And then you look back, oh, he played for the Rams. And how long did he play for the Rams? Well, Robustelli, 6'1", 230. That's pretty good size for that era. He was drafted by the Rams in 1951 and spent the first 5 seasons of his 14-year NFL career with the Rams, and was with the Giants from 1956 through 64. Multiple All-Pro, 7-time All-Pro, 7-time Pro Bowler, 6-time All-Pro. Had a fantastic career, even at the end of his career. 1962, 1963, he as they went back and rechecked the records, you know, he was in double digits in sacks as a defensive end. And he was with the Rams in 51 on their championship team, and with them again in 55 when they lost in the finals to Cleveland. And 19th round pick, 228 overall in 1951, drafted out of a place that doesn't exist anymore called Arnold College. Really, really fascinating. The Rams had him. If you watch the old film, and you can get a good glimpse of it, if you see number 84, that was Andy Robustelli. Had a great career with the Giants, went to numerous NFL finals, was inducted to the Hall of Fame in 1971, and part of the class he was inducted with included Jim Brown, Y.A. Tittle, Norm Van Brocklin. He played in 174 NFL games and only missed 1 game in a career that, again, stretched from 1951 all the way through 1964. So what a fantastic career. Here's the interesting thing, though. Well, it's all interesting, but this is where Joe T gets all nerded out, and I hope you can appreciate it. So the Rams, of course, after the 51 season, things started happening. It's documented. These things, some of these things I knew, a lot of these things I didn't know. I didn't know about the scout who found Robustelli. You need to look at that, Eddie Cattell. But the Rams started falling apart. Steidaher didn't last very long in the 52 season, was fired. Hamp Poole was there. Hamp Poole would probably fit in nowadays as some kind of OC genius. And then the next thing you know, he was gone and they kept replacing. Then Sid Gilman came in, and then there was just one change after another. Then those great players started to age out. So in July of 1956, right, at the prime of his career, the Rams dealt Robustelli to the New York Giants for a first-round pick in the 1957 draft. What I'm guessing here, by 56, either through retirement or attrition, Tom Fears and Crazy Legs Hurst were kind of wearing down. I think Fears retired after 55. We could check that. But so they traded Robustelli to the Giants for a first-round pick in the 1957 draft. They used that pick, number 11 overall, to draft a receiver, so it makes sense. They drafted Del Schaffner. Now, Schaffner had a nice career. Played 4 years with the Rams, played another 7 years with the Giants. Had some nice numbers, played on some of those Giant teams that were really big. Unfortunately, he played with the Rams teams on a downward swing. But he had over 1,000 yards receiving, really good receiver, big receiver, 6'3", big dude. But what happened at the in 1960 was there was this legendary thing that happened in the NFL. Chuck Bednarik, who played for the Philadelphia Eagles. He was in World War II. He was one of the last NFL's two-way players. He leveled Frank Gifford really bad. And Gifford ended up missing the whole 1961 season. And prior to the start of that 1961 season, the Giants, with Charlie Connerly, White, they had that whole group. They wanted to play for a championship. So they made a deal because Gifford was out. And they sent, in August of 1961, another first-round pick to the Rams, and they acquired Del Schaffner. Now, so Robustelli was traded for a draft pick that brought Schaffner to the Rams. Schaffner was traded to the Giants that brought another draft pick to the Rams, who turned out to be, in 1962, the number 2 overall pick, some guy named Roman Gabriel, okay? Now, we know the story of Roman Gabriel, player of the year in 1969, legendary Ram quarterback, pretty much the Rams starter, from mid-60s all the way through 72, George Allen guy. Well, new regime comes in, Chuck Knox comes in, Klosterman comes in. The Rams deal Roman Gabriel in June of 73 after a really tough 1972 season. In one of the legendary Klosterman heists, Don Klosterman trades Roman Gabriel to the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Rams get, for Roman Gabriel, they get Harold Jackson, Tony Baker, an excellent short yardage back who had 2 really good seasons with the Rams. He's a veteran running back. They also got a first-round pick in 1974, a first-round pick in 1975, and a third-round pick in 1975. So we know what Harold Jackson did for the Rams, right? And then touchdown Tony Baker had a really good 1973 for the Rams. By 74, he was scaled back, but the Rams got clicks out of him. Well, with the 11th overall pick, they also acquired in 1974 John Capoletti. With the 11th overall pick in 1975, they acquired Dennis Herrera. With the third round pick in 1975, they acquired a guy named Dan Nugent. I'm going to break those down, but it's important for you to recognize the ability to acquire those players, Capoletti, Harold Jackson, Dennis Herrera, all those guys, was because Robustelli was traded from the Rams to the Giants. They used the draft pick they got from the Giants to draft Del Schaffner. Del Schaffner played for the Rams, was traded to the Giants, and then they used that draft pick they got back from the Giants to draft Roman Gabriel. Roman Gabriel played for the Rams, and then in 73 was dealt to the Eagles. So we're still getting the effects of Andy Robustelli being drafted by the Rams in 1951 all the way into 1973. Now, Harold Jackson has a great run with the Rams, one of my favorite Ram players of all time. He's traded in 78 to the Patriots for a third-round pick in 1979 and a fourth-round pick in 1980. The third-round pick doesn't pan out for the Rams. The fourth-round pick, however, was paired with tight end Charlie Young and a third-rounder and sent to San Francisco for 2 third-round picks, right? And so all the way into 1980, you're feeling the effects of the Robustelli deal back in 56. So in 1980, the Rams made this deal. Charlie Young and a couple picks went up to San Francisco. The Rams got the number 58 pick overall in the 1980 draft. Turned out to be a guy named Jarrell Thomas. And Jarrell Thomas had a brief few moments with the Rams, But in 1983, after the acquiring of Eric Dickerson, the drafting of Barry Redden, and the Kansas City Chiefs losing Joe Delaney to a drowning incident, the Rams traded Jarrell Thomas to the Kansas City Chiefs for Eric Harris, a cornerback who ended up starting for 2 years for the Rams, first at corner and then at safety before he hurt himself. They also, in that same deal that brought Jarrell Thomas in 1980, the draft pick, they also got the number 63 overall pick in the 1983 draft. And what they did with that was they sent that to the Giants and they acquired Gary Jeter, the former USC All-American. And so that is pretty fascinating stuff, is that what you're seeing is Robustelli drafted in 51, traded in 56, and was still paying dividends, the thread of it, all the way to 1983. Also, from that 1975 draft, Dennis Herrera played 13 seasons at right guard for the Rams, goes to Pro Bowls in his final 2 seasons. That's how great he was. 6 Pro Bowls overall, was all pro once, had a fantastic career, probably should be considered for the Hall of Fame. And that 3rd round pick acquired in the Roman Gabriel trade, right? Remember, we don't get Roman Gabriel unless we trade Del Schaffner, and we don't get Del Schaffner unless we trade Andy Robustelli. That 3rd round pick turned out to be a guy named Dan Nugent. He was an offensive lineman, didn't pan out for him in LA. He was traded to the Redskins for a 2nd and 3rd round pick in 1980. The 3rd round pick was dealt in another trade, but with the number 50 pick overall, the 50th pick overall in the 1980 draft, the Rams end up taking Irv Pankey. And Irv Pankey becomes the starting left tackle through 1990 for the Rams. So do you hear what I'm saying here? The Rams draft Pankey because they traded a draft pick that they got in the Roman Gabriel deal, who Roman Gabriel came because of the Del Schaffner deal, who Del Schaffner came because of the Andy Robustelli deal in 1956. I know I'm nerding out here, but folks, this is fascinating stuff. Pankey gets traded to the Colts in 1991 for 2 draft picks. One of those draft picks doesn't pan out at all. The other one becomes a guy, number 57 overall in the 1992 draft, Mark Boutte. And he plays alongside Sean Gilbert. He has 1 decent season with the Rams, 1 bad season, and then he's released at the end of the 93 season, going into 1994. And that's the end of the run there. But I thought that was fascinating, that if you look at the Rams drafting of Robustelli, 19th round, 228th overall at a small college in the Northeast, because a scout named Eddie Cattell, who's profiled marvelously in the 1951 book that I'm talking about today, and he's profiled marvelously in that Robustelli ends up playing for the Rams, gets traded from the Rams in 56. That leads to Del Schaffner, all-star receiver, ends up leading to Roman Gabriel, all-star quarterback, right? And that Gabriel trade ends up becoming part of Harold Jackson and everybody else that ends up Harold Jackson getting dealt, ends up becoming, in the end, ultimately, an Irv Pankey and Mark Boutte, and how much history and the thread of players and trades, how long a length they had. By the time Irv Pankey left the Rams in 1990, or even Mark Boutte, who wasn't really a great player, everyone had forgotten. How did you get Pankey? How did you get that draft pick? No one was remembering anymore Harold Jackson and Roman Gabriel because they had retired, but the residue. No one was remembering Schaffner and Robustelli because they had retired. Some of them had passed away. But that thread of a draft pick and 1 trade in the 1950s played a part in Rams in Rams history, in franchise history, for over 40 years. I know, I'm nerding it out. I'm going to write this down and get that out there and post it as a Ram Cave. But I just felt like you wanted to see that. I wanted to see that. So, how cool is that? All right, I'm Joe Tarosian. Thank you so much for clicking on. We're going to be back tomorrow with RamView. Take care, and we will talk to you soon.